Welcome back. Let the learning begin. Now my class has been meeting on Zoom, and each time we meet, someone brings their own original idea for a growth mindful activity, either a project or a process. And a process is just something that you do to help you regulate. So one of my students, Alexander, snaps to Alexander, you rock, little lobster, snap, 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 and props. Alexander brought a little panda, and when you squeeze the panda, his little eyes bug out. So his practice was for us to do Poppin Panda. So we're going to do Poppin Panda before we start, because we use growth mindful activities and processes, practices, projects to help us move from one activity to another, to make transitions into the room, out of the room, from chaos into learning. It just helps us settle ourselves and regulate. And once you do them routinely, it can help you regulate as well. Okay, so this is Poppin Panda. So you take a breath in when you're squeezing the panda. So you have, this is going to be the eye, or the eyes. And this is going to be the hand squeezing the neck of the panda. Now, I do not recommend that you squeeze real pandas, but the purpose of this panda is to kind of, it's like a stress ball, kind of a stress reliever. But since I don't have that panda, what we're going to do is imagine we have the panda. So you're going to take a breath in, and we're going to alternate hands, just because then we toggle between one side of our brain and the other side of our brain. And if you cross the medial plane, the center point, that also helps wake up your brain. So we're going to squeeze the neck and pop the eye. Ready? So we breathe in when we squeeze the neck. And we breathe out when we pop the eye. And then we're going to switch hands. One more time. That feels good. That's kind of like a blood snack. That sounds so disgusting, but what it does is it oxygenates your blood. And when you roll your shoulders in your body, it lets you relax as we're now moving into our work. I was missing being a lion this week. I'm getting kind of hot, so I'm probably going to take it off, but yay, Lindstrom. Go, Lions, go. Someday we'll get back to the prairie. For now, we're just off on our own. Our pride has dispersed. Okay, so I also want you to do a check-in. And it doesn't have to be on this signal. You can make one at home if you want to. But I want you to think about the 4 zones every single day, throughout the day. It's another way for you to kind of take a temperature check, not to see if you have the virus, but to see how you're feeling inside. Because sometimes we're just unaware, we're mindless. And then we're agitated or irritated, or we don't feel well, or something's bothering us. And since we don't check into it, and we don't become aware of it, we don't do anything about it, and then it escalates and it manifests in our behaviors, which isn't very good for us and usually is really bad for everyone else around us. So remember, if you're in the blue, you're not feeling maybe well. If you're in the green, you are regulated and ready to learn. If you're in the yellow, you're maybe a little bit agitated or irritated. Maybe you're kind of starting to get grouchy. You're getting frustrated because something's a little hard for you to do. And if you're in the red, you kind of need to separate. This is probably pull away and breathe. This is probably get someone to give you some project or practice that you can really channel that energy in. In our garage, we have a punching bag, so my boys can go out there and punch, punch, punch. And if you're in the blue, then you need to communicate that you just don't really feel well. Sometimes then you can't quite participate as actively, but you could still maybe listen. So my goal in Block Talk is for you to get to the green. You might not be there yet, but I want you to try. And that includes your learning too. So let's change the portable calendar. Yesterday was not Tuesday. Well, yesterday. I guess yesterday was Tuesday. Today is not Tuesday. Oh, now I just erased it both. So now I'm going to have to use my smart chart. Oh! Or I'll use my smart cards. Tuesday. And I think I'll change all the information today. Let's just erase once. One and done. And I'm going to do this. I did Zoom my class. Well, I'm going to Zoom my class later. I Zoomed my class yesterday. Oh, I took the leg off the lie. Okay. I think we're ready. start with today is, and I'm going to work down, because that's just a little different, and we want to kind of mix it up so that our brain stays attentive. Remember, the brain is trying to attach to former knowledge, that's called schema, and it's looking for novelty. So you can take something that's known and do it just a little bit different, and your brain is like, oh, its interest is piqued. That means it's kind of curious again. So today is not Tuesday. Yesterday was Tuesday. So I have to come down one more day. So I'm going to use my smart chart and my smart brain, and I'm going to sing a smart chant, little song. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday follows them. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday follows them. That means today is, I need a little face space. Ace the face space. I'm going to ace this. Today, face space is face space Wednesday. Capital W-E-D-N-E-S. Remember, I'm breaking it into syllables. Wednesday. Most people say Wednesday. Wednesday. So it sounds like W-E-N, Wednesday. W-E-N-S-D-A-Y. But it's actually Wednesday. Wednesday. Hard to enunciate that. It's an awkward word. Better just to memorize it. Capital W-E-D, do it sing-songy, N-E-S-D-A-Y. That sing-song works as a mnemonic and helps our brain remember just how to spell it, because we don't say it anything remotely like what it's spelled. And it's not like there are silent letters hiding in there. We just don't pronounce it correctly, so we can't sound it out. But we can chunk it by syllable, spell it correctly. Wednesday, capital W-D-E-D-N-E-S-D-A-Y. And then comma. It is still April. This would have been tax day in the universe. But what it is it's my big girl's birthday. Happy birthday, Olivia. 22. She lives in another state, so we can't even do a car parade. But we can get in our car and videotape ourselves driving up and down the street singing happy birthday. This is a strange time, huh? I'm gonna have my birthday parade. I'm gonna have my birthday party. Today is Wednesday, April 15th. I put a 1 in the tens place. I put a 5 in the ones place. 15. And it's 2020. 2, 0, 2, 0. And a period at the end. Now I can come down and I'm going to reference my smart card. Yesterday was Tuesday. Capital T-U-E-S-D-A-Y. And a period. It's just a telling sentence. That's in the past. Today is Wednesday. Capital W-E-D-N-E-S-D-A-Y. And there's a period. Tomorrow. Oh, I see tomorrow. The R's of tomorrow kind of disappeared. Tomorrow will be, I'm going to reference back to my smart chart, but I'm going to check and make the smart brain first. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday follows them. Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday follows them. Thursday. I know I've used the mnemonic for thumb. T-H-U-R-S-D-A-Y. Now, I don't write that based on chunk. Based on syllable. I break the syllable into chunks because it'd be harder to say T-H-U-R-S. It's easier to say T-H, so I break the digraph off the beginning, and then I put U-R-S-D-A-Y. There's not a right or a wrong. It's whatever you can do to remember it, and if you can remember it and get it back on the page, ding, 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 because eventually you're not going to do any of the sing-song, you're just going to write it. Then when it's an automaticity, it's all over. All right, I think today, instead of writing about the day or the weather, I think what I like to do is write numbers. So let's try writing our numbers. So I'm going to start with 0. I left around the world like a superhero. That makes 0. I'm going to math it up. Woo, woo, math it up. Then I'm going to put a face space. 1, a straight line down is fun. That's 1, a face space. Loop around to the right. At a left angle, come down. A line right across the bottom will do. That makes 2, face space. Go right around the tree, right around the tree. That makes 3, face space. Down and over right and down some more. That makes 4. face space, across left and down, move right around. That is how we jive when we make a 5. Face space, at a left angle, come down, move right around. That is how we get our kicks when we make a 6. Let's make a 7, face space. Fly right across the sky and at a left angle down from heaven. That makes 7. I paused there for a minute because I was afraid my mouth was going to say the wrong thing. It's an automaticity, but sometimes I tell you how to write a letter. Whew, what do we know about me? If I'm awake, I'm going to make a mistake. I can't find my paper, so I'm making a mistake there too. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, face space. Make an S down through the garden and then go back through the gate. That makes 8. Face space. Loop around to the left, on the right, add a line. That makes 9. Now these are all the single digit numbers, but they are also the numerals. So this is the numeral string. Numeral string. So I'm going to write that here. Numeral string. These are the essentials that you have to be able to write, and you have to be able to write correctly, because every number you will ever write from now until the end of time to infinity and beyond uses a combination of these numerals. These are also called digits. These fingers are called digits too. So this numeral string is what all the numbers are made of. If I say 75, you are going to use a combination of a 7 in the tens place and a 5 in the ones place. But you use 2 numerals out of the string. If I say 1,001, I put a 1 in the thousands place. I put a 0 in the hundreds place. I put a 0 in the tens place. I put a 1 in the ones place. 1,001. And it's just 2 digits that came from the numeral string. And if I say 99, you'll go to the very end of the string. I put a 9 in the tens place. I put a 9 in the ones place. 99. So no matter what number you make, it is going to come from a combination of the numerals in the numeral string. So it's very important that you practice this. Once you have all these going in the correct order and going in written in the correct direction, so they're in numerical order and they're in the correct direction and they come right out of your mind, once you have this basis, you can do all the combination of numbers, because then it just patterns out. You just start, essentially you just have a 0 in front of them. The next string has a 1, the next string has a 2, then you're doing 10 strings. Right now this is the numeral string, but it also could be the first 10 strings, 0, 8, 0, 9, 0, 7, 0, 6, 0, 5. And you want to be able to write them forward and backward, and then also drop into the middle of the string. Not just always doing 0 to 9, but drop in and say, okay, now I'm going to do 3 to 9. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 to 6. Okay, now I'm going to write 4 to 9. Okay, now I'm going to write 0 to 5. Just so you're becoming very flexible in your thinking, because that's the essential in math. All right, I did not lose this sign. Honk, honk, beep, beep. We are taking a learning field trip. Climb on the bus. Let's build up some schema. The rabbits first. So have some manners and wait your turn, and you can go next. We're going to take a math field trip. Just seemed like a good mathy day. Some days just seem like mathy days. It's not even a word. Okay, mathematicians. Hocus pocus, don't lose your focus. Abracadabra, alakazam. We are going to turn this into a mathematician. Mathematician. Ready? Now we're mathematicians, because math is really kind of magical. It just is one thing and then it's another, right in front of your eyes. And for some of us, we cannot figure out the illusion. It just looks so impossible to understand. So it's important that we break down the magic tricks so you understand. It's not necessarily pulling a rabbit out of a hat, but 2 and 2 more will always be 4, right? So it's important to understand how that is, why it came to be, and how it always will be. All right, So you see a whole bunch of boxes everywhere, right? What we're going to be doing is graphing. Now, graphing means to sort and record data. Data is just a big fancy scientific word for information by like characteristic. And I see my B got erased. By like characteristic. That's just a fancy word for saying putting things together in groups and then counting how many there are. And then comparing them to the other groups of things that they were around. So math sometimes seems confusing because it just sounds so big. But if we can break it down and make it seem a little smaller, and we can make our brain wrestle with it and build those compressions where we make mistakes and we struggle through it, and then our brain pushes that information down, compacts it, puts it in a retrievable space, and makes room for more math information, then that's a good thing. So we're going to be doing a good thing. So if you look over here, I have a little cluster of pictures. There's a B. We're going to identify what you see by a label, a word that you would call it. This is a B. These are flowers, and these are bugs, particularly ladybugs. Now, I didn't do them in color. I just did them in black and white, which is totally fine. I just want your eye to be able to distinguish the difference. You would not call this a ladybug because universally we've agreed upon calling it a flower. Now, it might be a specific flower, but it's in the category, a broad category of flower. Now, this is specifically a bee. Insects, we're not saying insects because these are both insects. So we are categorizing those more specifically, but we're not calling this the specific flower that it is. But you could say pansy, bee, bumblebee, and then ladybug. But we're just going to say bee, bug, flower. Bee, bug, and flower. It's just easier. Bee, bug, and flower. So if you look closely, there are more of some and less of others. But what's important is that you make sure that you look at their size, because sometimes when things are larger, they look like, because they're taking up more space, it looks like there's more. And sometimes there's not. Sometimes you have to be very careful and look very closely at the smaller things, and then you have to touch and count them, or find a way to tell your brain to say, once I've counted that, I keep that information over here so I don't double dip. I don't go in and count it twice. So let's count them. I see one B. Now, I'm not talking about what's over here. I'm only talking about what's in my corner. Let's make it a window. So I'm looking out the window of my house because I'm here on Corona Venture 2020 and I'm sheltered to home. So I'm looking out the window and this is what I see out my window. I see a bee. For singular because there's only one. He's going down to the flowers. And I said flowers because there is more than one. It's plural. This is a singular. These are plural. There's more than one. Now let's find out how many there are. 1, 2, 3. My strategy in counting was to move from left to right. If you randomly count like one, you could count them more than one time. So you have to have a strategy in how you're going to count. I started from the left and I'm moving to the right. It's what I teach my students. It's what I do myself. Sometimes people drop in the middle, and if you can hold the information, that's okay, but it's always best to start with a clear strategy and use that strategy again and again and again, because you're teaching your brain a formula for how to attack that problem. So attacking this problem this way is very, very powerful. So now I know there is one bee and there are 3 flowers. So I'm going to say 1 bee, and I'm going to say 3 flowers. And this is called using rebus to record. So I put it in a safe place. And then I have to find out how many bugs. Now the bugs aren't so easily done from left to right because they're almost together. So now I'm going to use the strategy of top to bottom. Because I've moved from left to right, now I'm going to come down. I see a bug, there's 1. There's 1. There's 2, and I don't see any more. So I use a strategy left to right, and use a strategy top to bottom. Left to right, top to bottom. And you can use another piece of paper or your own hand even to cover them. And if you have a hard time remembering as you're going, you can also make tallies. This is another strategy. So when I was counting the bee, I could say, I see 1 bee, so I make 1 tally. I don't see any more bees, so I'm not going to make any more tallies. Okay, flowers I'm going to do next. So I'm going to go from left to right. I see 1 flower. I see 2 flowers. I see 3 flowers. 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 tallies. And bugs. I'm going to go top to bottom. I see 1 bug. I see 2 bugs. So now I have 1 bee, I have 3 flowers, and I have 2 bugs. Now I'm going to hold that information inside my super smart brain, and now I'm going to transfer it over to the graph. I know the phone is driving you crazy. I thought I unplugged it, but I didn't. So now we all have to listen. Okay, so now I'm going to come to my graph. Now these are called bar graphs. Not because they're sitting on a bar, but because when we're done recording how many of each, it's going to look like a bar that comes across or comes from the bottom to the top. So these are called horizontal side-to-side bars. When we're working from a horizontal bar, we record from left to right. Now what's really important is if you are in school and you have little pictures and you lay the pictures onto here, what's important is that you don't count all the pictures. Everything that was already there doesn't get counted. If you're moving over the new information, if you glue it down, you count it. If you write it, draw it, you count it. If you color in the bar, you count it. But if it was already on the paper, all it is a placeholder. It's telling you where the information goes. Now, if I come here, what I want to remember is that I work from left to right. So I'm going to code my graph. I'm going to put green here because I'm going to tell my brain, this is where the information starts. Then I'm going to take red and I'm going to say, this is where the information ends. Now I'm going to just take a regular marker, and I said I had 1 bee, so I'm going to color in 1 box for the bee. And I said I had 2 bugs, so I'm going to color in, start at the green and head toward the red, 2 bugs. And I had 1, 2, 3 flowers. So which one had the most? The one with the most boxes had the most. So flowers were the most. Which one was the least? The least was bees. The least was bees because that was the box that I only colored 1 box for. So that's how we graph and we work from left to right. But what if we took that same information and we were working on a vertical graph? Well, now when we read, we start from the top and we work down, but when we graph, we start from the bottom and we work up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to code it with my green, so it tells my brain where to start. And this is a good strategy you can use as a learner too, to remind yourself until you remember always. We graph from the bottom up. And I know I'm transferring this information. 1 bee, 2 bugs, 3 flowers. The data doesn't look, well, the data looks like it's recorded a little different because it's easier to kind of see because now it looks like stairs. But it's not different data. It is recorded exactly the same. I didn't add any boxes or take any away. I started at the green. I put them in their respective boxes matching their pictures. And I would say I had 3, not 4. I don't count this and I don't start there. I don't color over the picture. Now, what if the pictures were off the graph? Might make it a little bit easier. And what if I was going to do it with pictures? So let's say I just had them, cut out and I was going to glue them down. Okay, and then I pick up another flower, and then I pick up another flower, and then I pick up another bug. And I glue them down. When I count them, there are still only 3 flowers. I don't count this one. I don't count this one. I don't count this one, and I don't count this one. And I don't lay the pictures over the existing pictures. I have to put them in the matrix, the grid, the graphing box. And there are still 3 and 2 and 1. The number did not change. Now let's just say that I wanted to play a little game here. Inside my basket, I have placed picture cards with each of my pictures. I'm going to dump them into my basket, and then I'm going to pick one. What did I pick? I picked a flower. So what I want to do with my flower is, this game is called Run a Column. So I'm going to run a column. So watch carefully. I'm going to do one, run a column. Now I have to put it back in. This is called probability. I might pick that flower again. I might pick something else. No peeking. Now look. And I picked a bee. And I have to pick until one of them gets all the way to the end. I'm running a column. I picked a bug. It's a neck and neck and neck race. Who's gonna pull ahead? The bee! He got tired of being left out. He's flying ahead. And the bug. And I'm not looking because I'm picking a flower. And I pick a bug. And now I pick a bee. Bee and the bug travel. So it's not a surprise, the flowers. And the bee, the flower's losing. Uh-oh, but the flower could still catch up. Let's see. No, it's a bug. Now, if I pick a bee, my game is over. I've run a column. If I've run a row, this way it's a row. Run a row. This is run a column. This is run a row. If I've run a row, run a row. Rows go across, columns go down. So if I run a row, my game is over. And even though the flower had more up here, it won't have more there. And the bug wins. Now I can play the game an opposite way. I can play from bottom up. B. Bug. Bug. Oh my gosh, is the bug gonna win again? Bug. Oh my goodness, where's the flower? Where's the flower? Bug. Bug won. I didn't even get a flower at all. So this is run a column and this is run a row. Now another way that you can play is to reassign value. This is for early algebra. So here I have 3 markers. I'm going to do the same kind of game without looking. But what I'm going to do is have these represent these. So I'm going to use black for my bug. I'm going to use yellow for my bee. And I'm going to use pink for my flower. Now down here, I didn't have a yellow, I have a yellow highlighter and I do not want to write on my board with that. So I used orange down here, but I'm just going to record, I'm not going to record it in the color, I'm just going to record it with black. But when I pick these respective markers, they are going to represent, these respective markers, they are going to represent my bee, my flower, and my bug. So I'm going to put them up. They're going to watch winner, winner, chicken dinner. Let's see who's going to be the winner. Okay, so I reach in, and this time I'm going to, ooh, black is my bug. Ooh, I don't want to use red. And I guess I could use those colors. So let's see, that bug is trying to win again. And black is my bug. Sheesh. Black is my favorite color. Well, one of them, white is my favorite color. Black is my other favorite color. There's no white in here. Oh my gosh, I picked black again. I'm really not looking. I should look so I pick a different color. Oh yeah, I picked yellow. But I don't have yellow, so I'm going to record it with orange. That flower is not getting picked, and flowers are what you're supposed to pick. And I picked black again. So this is an algebra boost. When you have something that stands in the place, like later you're going to have letters and symbols that are going to stand in the place of numbers, or they're going to tell you to do certain processes. And so it's important to understand symbolic representation and be able to switch it out, swap it out. Because these are symbols. Numbers are symbols. these are also symbols. So in algebra, you're using a lot of symbolic representation, and your brain has to think very fluidly between them, and it can be confusing. So the sooner we start, the more compressions will be there, and the less difficult it will seem. Hey, that was super, super fun, Smarties. I had a great time sharing this graphing lesson. Looks a hot mess, right? I hope you have an amazing day. Until I see you on another video. Goodbye, super Smarties. Come back ready to learn. Don't forget. Poppin Panda. Till later. Here's some pride. Here's some love. Put it inside. Super teacher is out.